easily the best musical of the year. That's how Forbes magazine described & Juliet, a jukebox musical inspired by the classic Shakespeare play Romeo and Juliet. And it has been a runaway success. It was even nominated for 9 Tony Awards this year. And from a Korean perspective, the musical success has had extra significance as one of its cast members is a native Korean actor who's been realizing his Broadway dream. His name is Hwang Joomin, and he's joined us now via video call for this week's Touch Base in Seoul to tell us about his story. Mr. Hwang, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you with us. Absolute pleasure. First, I want to congratulate you on the immense success of & Juliet. As I said, 9 Tony nominations. That's quite a feat. How's it been being part of this incredible show? What's it been like backstage recently?
So we're jukebox musicals. We have a lot of young crowds, and often we have a lot of like high school students coming to watch the show, and it feels like concert. It's really rare, I would say, for a musical theater audience to like have that kind of feedbacks during the show and after the show at the stage door. But we're getting a lot of good feedbacks from different generations, especially young people that I kind of like didn't expect that we would have that. But yeah, it's really cool that we have a whole different generation's support and having great feedbacks.
Yeah, it's been a big hit. It's been really interesting as well. It has a really fun concept. Can you tell us a bit more about & Juliet and what it's about? We said it's a jukebox musical, but can you tell us more?
Yeah, so & Juliet in the show, William Shakespeare and his wife Anne Hathaway is actually writing the end of the Romeo and Juliet at the beginning of the show, and that we all know about, like it's tragedy, everyone is dying, and Anne Hathaway suggests to William Shakespeare that what if Juliet didn't die and find her life after Romeo and find her own voice after Romeo. And that's the beginning of the show, and where that bring all our shows to the story. And it's jukebox musical that we have Emmy-winning writer David West Reed and #1 pop hit writer Max Martin. It's kind of like I'm not exaggerating. All the pop songs we probably know from 90s to early 2000s.
Sure.
90% of the songs are from Max Martin, like Backstreet Boys, Westlife, Britney Spears, Ariana Grande. From like even today, like Weekend, Jessie J, Ariana Grande. So there are so many songs that we already knew are in the show. And David West Reed did an amazing job to weaving songs and scripts together. Yeah, so it's about Juliet's journey after Romeo.
Right.
What if she found her another love after Romeo?
Right. As you said, it's got an amazing soundtrack and has really brought a lot of people in. What's also been really fascinating is that the musical, it's also a very modern take on Shakespeare-inspired stories as well, tackling things like feminism, LGBTQ issues, and also it has a very diverse, almost colorblind cast, right?
Yes, we have a lot of Asian cast. I mean, Broadway is still, I would say it's changed, but you kind of like, you won't say Asian. We have like 7 Asian casts in our show, which is pretty rare. Usually you get 1 or 2.
Sure.
If you're lucky, you get 2 casts in the show, but we have like 7 casts. So it's really cool that we have like, also one of the big message we have is inclusion. So I think that's why creative team included a lot of different races, different gender non-conforming like
Sure.
LGBTQ people in the cast to feel relevant to 2023, I think.
And that's also where you come in. You play Kemp, an ensemble character, but you also understudy for Francois, who is a principal, a potential love interest for Juliet, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So Camp is one of the players. So like I told you before, so William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway is writing the show literally in the show and Juliet. So players as ensemble were playing different characters in different scenes where William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway is writing different scenes. So that's where appearing. And Francois is after Romeo Juliet finds different people out there and then find this Francois. Francois is like he grew up with the general army dad
Hmm.
who is expecting him to be like a man, like a typical stereotypical type of a man. But Francois likes music. It's very different type of like um, stereotype man, and he didn't know how to find himself,
Right.
and he meets Juliet, who are very like Juliet knows what she wants to do after Romeo. She wants to find her voice, so they inspired Francois to find his voice as well. So they're like main character kind of, I would say.
Hmm.
Francois is a bigger role than Romeo in the show, and it's a pleasure and honored to play the roles a couple times so far in the show as Native Korean on Broadway.
Uh, yes, on that last note that you mentioned, being a native Korean on Broadway, that's why I really wanted to get you on today because of your personal story, which is pretty incredible. How you achieved your dream of performing on Broadway. It's immensely challenging for anyone to become a Broadway actor, but especially more so, I think, for someone who is Asian and also from Asia, as in from a non-native English-speaking country. And you also began your musical acting career quite late as well, right?
Yes, I grew up as a breakdancer, and I was competing around the world, and I was in London doing a show in 2007 when I was 23 years old, and I watched Billy Elliot, and that's how I got into the musical. I don't know if people know about the musicals, but there's a number called Electricity, and Billy is singing the song, and while he is singing the song, he's like flying around the stage, and it's like, quite magical.
Hmm.
Um, and I've never experienced that kind of feeling in my life, and then I immediately fell in love with musical theater, and I studied how to sing and acting when I was 23 years old, and then I got into the music school when I was 27 years old. In Korean age, it's quite late
Sure.
compared to other people who are starting classical music, because Korean musical theater is very like based on classical music and then expanding to the musical theater. And then I transferred here, University of Wisconsin, when I was 29 years old, when I didn't know how to speak English at all. So I started learning English when I was 29 years old, and it's a very different path that other people would have taken. It definitely it was definitely challenging, but
Right, I imagine it must have been
if I
very difficult to even
yes.
to imagine to having to learn to sing and dance after seeing Billy at age 23. How challenging was that?
Um, I could have. I mean, if I can have 3 days, then I can tell all the stories that how challenging it was. Challenging it was, but I would say just a long story short. First year, I didn't speak any. I tried to just try to listen to people saying that, try to understand, because people say you have like 6 to 8 months to just hear what people say,
Right.
understand,
To
like
learn English, I mean, you
you,
mean when you came to the US?
right, yeah, you say like 귀가 트인다, right? Like you open your ears up to like native English, because
Hmm.
you learn English in Korea with accent, and then they actually people speaking in the native language, it's a kind of different. So like it's quite difficult, and but also at the other hand, because I didn't know anything at all, like late age, I was just kind of thrown into that environment.
Right.
I think that kind of like made me learn the language quicker, because I it's pretty much survival for me.
Hmm.
I needed to survive in order to leave,
Sure.
and in 2 years, uh, I learned a lot about the culture and language, um, and I took a lot of IPA classes, International Phonetic Alphabet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. It's about how you speak the sounds with
Right,
the
right.
alphabet. And as like as an actor, like a musical theater actor, is it's more important that you see that we already have the text, that so the ability to speak the text
Right.
in right way is more important than we speak make a sentences and then bring
Sure.
our thoughts, delivering our thoughts. So I was more focusing on that, and just working really hard. I didn't know it. Yeah, it was very hard, I would
Your
say.
your English is incredible now, I would say, and it's really inspirational seeing someone who has been basically chasing their dream no matter what the obstacle, no matter what the challenge lies ahead of them, whether it's learning to speak English or learn to sing and dance at age 23. It's pretty incredible. And to think that you made it all the way to Broadway as well. When you look back at your journey and when you're performing on stage now, how do you feel?
It feels like a movie. It still feel unreal. I when right before I moved here, which was 2013, I watched a TV show called Smash. It's about Broadway, and I learned English through that TV show. And everything I watched, like the audition process, how they performed, what's happening in the backstage, what's happening with creative team and everything. Um, that's like right now I'm living in that TV show, so it feels like it's like a movie.
Hmm.
It still feels very unreal to me. Also, the fact that I don't have many friends around me doing this other than Americans here, Asian Americans. It's very different. You
Right.
move here from South Korea to follow pursuing your dream. So it feels like a dream. It feels like a dream.
And I feel that you've already inspired many people, many Asian actors and performers already. But what advice would you give to musical students, whether they're here in Korea or elsewhere, who wish to become perhaps the next you? What piece of advice would you have liked to perhaps have received yourself when you were starting out as well?
I would say, I mean, like even 10 years ago, world was very different, and world is going to change from this point forward. And I would say, if your dream is Broadway, I want you to come here as soon as possible and to pursue your dream. And um, when was I was decided to come here, like 90% of my friends thought this wouldn't this wouldn't be a good idea, like they thought I was too crazy to change my whole environment, and like you just kind of like leap of faith, like you just jump off the cliff that you don't even know what's gonna happen. But when you follow your heart deeply and you really work hard towards your dream, I think life will bring you to like unimaginable place that like you feel like it's a dream, and you will live in like literally you will live in your dream,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of
Sure.
like hard to explain, but I would say follow your heart, um, work your best, and then just
Sure.
live your life. Yes.
We're out of time. Very briefly, though, what's next for you? Do you have any plans, perhaps, to come perform in Korea anytime soon?
I would love to perform in Korea, but we'll see. Because and Juliet might go to Korea. So if and Juliet is going to Korea, I would love to go as an original cast, and then show what we worked
Hmm.
on. And I would love to see Korean audience as how I worked as a like Broadway performer, rather than start from the scratch as
Sure.
a Korean musical theater performer. So that's what I'm hoping for.
And I'm sure the Korean audience would love to see you perform here as well. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, and I think it's been quite inspiring as well. We're going to have to wrap it up there. We've been speaking to the musical actor Hwang Joomin from the Broadway musical and Juliet. Thank you once again for your time today.
Thank you very much.